Guys, I'm in a meeting, okay? So I need you to be quiet.
Hey
No, it's okay.
everyone, welcome back to Utah Moms for America. This is our state cottage meeting where the state team gets together and we have conversations about the cottage meetings that we hope that you will take on and that you will embrace as your own. So, tonight, what we're going to do is cover the power of patriotism. I think it is, we're really we really need to be doing this right now. Patriotism is not politics. So, clearing our minds of just all of the political drama and actually focusing on what it is that makes us a patriot and why it's important, I think will be an excellent conversation. So, we are so glad you're here and let's get started. We are uh, faith based in that we believe in God, family, country. And so we do always start with a prayer. So, would anybody like to say it?
I can do
Going.
that.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay. Father in heaven, we're grateful to meet together today as women and as friends to discuss patriotism and this great nation that we live in. We're so grateful for thy hand in its formation. We're grateful for the freedoms that we enjoy here. And we are dedicated to doing our part to preserve those freedoms. And we ask for thy guidance in this mission of preserving this great blessing that thou hast bestowed unto us and our children. We love thee and we pray for these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. So then the other thing that we do is we
What happened? Is anybody still there?
I'm still there.
Did Carrie cut out or is it just me?
I don't know. I can't hear anything.
Okay, me either.
Nope.
Well,
I
she
saw her,
popped up and then back.
I saw her pop up and then I don't know where she went.
guys, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, now you're
Oh,
right.
wait. I have
I
this
can't
thing.
hear her either. Oh,
How about now?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Let's start again with the
yes.
Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of the
of the
United
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 States
States
of
of
States of
America
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 and to
and
the
to
and to
the
the
republic for
republic
republic
which
for
it
for
which
which
it
it
stands,
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 one
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 nation,
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
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 liberty
liberty
and
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 justice
justice
for
justice
all.
for all.
for all.
You guys, what are your thoughts on patriotism before we even get started? Like what I just feel like it's missing.
I do too.
Um I don't know about you, but I feel like we are getting thrown and tossed in the wind in every single thing that is just discouraging and lets you down. You might think you get this little win, and then the next day there's like a million things to be like, oh my gosh, what's happening? And what's crazy to me is watching so many people who've always been pro America turn and embrace kind of this nihilism. Have you felt that?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
and I don't
have.
really know when it happened. Like, when did this shift happen? Because all of a sudden it's here and it's deep, but I don't remember the slow, I don't remember it happening gradually. I just, all of a sudden, if you're pro America, it means you're extreme, and I don't understand that at all.
I feel like we used to be taught that that was part of your basic identity as an American was love of country. And I feel like history and all the things that we were used to be taught has kind of disappeared, and so goes with that is our love of country. We used to be quite united in our love of country, and now it seems to be played a uh, us versus them rather than a we.
I mean, when we were growing up, do you guys remember it was never talk about politics or religion?
Yes.
And so I mean, I did it. I never talked about politics or religion. I remember being in, I think, junior high and having this girl say, "I'm a Democrat." And I was like, "I don't even know what that means." And I promise you that's what where middle schoolers are today. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily know what anything means. And I don't know that that's a bad thing at their age.
Well, I don't know if this is just where I was, like, where I was from, but where I was from, people were pretty much united on not liking the government, you know,
I
and
don't
it,
think that's exclusively to Eugene because
okay.
I agree with that too. So
Okay, so I don't remember it being like, oh, the Republicans this or the Democrats this. It was the government. It was like us against the government, the American people against the government. And I think that's healthy, you know, um, because we, the people, are the ones with the power. And when they don't do, when they don't serve us, it should be, we should unite in getting them out. And it was like America versus the world, but it's just completely changed now.
Yeah, that's really funny because today it's the end of the year and I was teaching middle schoolers and I said, um, who has the power in America? Who has the power? And the kids were like, oh, the president, the people that we send to Congress. And I said, that's so interesting. They were just, everybody had the power, but you know who didn't? So the first thing they did was a pretest. And when they were writing it down, and they're writing this pretest and they're like, I don't know anything about politics. And I'm like, well, civics and politics are not necessarily the same thing. Like your civic duty isn't left versus right. Your civic duty it's much more close to home. And then I got to teach them about kind of the very cradle of where democracy started in Greece and why it was important because it was the first time, and I know we're not a democracy, but it was the first time that an aristocrat saw people as being equal and giving them a voice. So it was cool to get to talk to them about that. Um, but I remember like utterly just not caring. I don't think I cared. I honestly don't think I cared about politics until it came to my front porch. But I cared about, I mean, it was just ingrained to love our country.
Yeah.
So our main goal at Moms for America, what we focus on at the national level is reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution. And I just think truth is exactly that moment that we're at right now. What I have found recently is people, if you say truth, even if you say truth in a calm, collected voice, and you just say, hey, this is actually what happened. Can I show you? People are ready to say that's hateful.
Yeah.
How in the world did we get there? Megan, have you noticed any of this? Can you hear us, Megan? Uh,
I'm sorry, I can't. You guys, this whole thing is super choppy, so I'm only picking up just a couple words.
oh no. Okay, so can you hear me now?
So I don't know if it's my computer
I think
or,
so. Donna, you can hear us nice and clear?
yeah, but it's only in and out.
yeah, I can hear you clear.
Megan, what if you try on your phone again? On your phone. So when you think of patriotism today, what do you think it is?
Oof, I think that's a hard one. I know what I think it means to me, but to say what I think other people think that looks like is entirely something else.
What is it to you?
To me, it's love of country, the whole country, all the parts of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, because we're all in this ship together.
I
Yeah,
love it.
I just want to echo that because um, I know that there are a lot of people that don't feel like we're one, but I definitely want the good, bad, and the ugly. You know, I feel like we are blessed to be able to disagree with each other, to be able to disagree with the government, to be able to hash things out, to have somebody, you know, stand beside us and scream things that we disagree with at the top of their lungs. That's what America means to me, and I want to fight to preserve it because that's how, just that's what makes us better than everybody else, in my opinion, is that we have freedoms here that so many people don't have. So, you know, the fact that there are people that I think doing things that are absolutely immoral and things that I think would be so destructive to our country, um, I want it all because that means I have the freedom to fight for and pursue things that I think are right and true.
Yeah, we should have the freedom to disagree,
Yeah.
even vigorously,
Mhm.
without being afraid.
Right.
And I don't think we're there anymore.
Right.
I am afraid. I'm at this place where I'm very afraid of if people think you're hateful,
Mhm.
they justify anything. And so I'm very afraid to speak my mind, and it's really weird because I've been talking with like a lot of people who are running for office, and they're saying the same thing. It is scary to not self-censor.
Yeah.
And
Well,
that go
I
ahead.
think part of that it has to do with it seems like more and more these days that we are led to believe that words are violence rather than actual violence is violence. And those are two very different things. I was talking with a candidate myself over the last couple months, and I had asked this person uh would they stand for my right to say something that they might not like, and their
Mhm.
answer was absolutely. And I can get behind a candidate that says that because we don't have to agree on anything, but I get to
Right.
have an opinion and so does the other person. When we stop communicating, what happens after that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've heard that phrase, right? As soon as
Mhm.
when people stop talking, bad things happen. But it does seem like we're being told to stop talking. That when you talk, you're met with hostility. But what I find is that when you push past the hostility and you say, that's not my intention, that people are still open. I don't know, it's like a fairy tale where like everybody's kind of asleep.
Yeah.
But if you can get past the spell, there's still really good people there. I don't know. That's how it feels
Well,
to me.
I think that we absolutely have to push back on the idea that's being perpetuated that words can harm people. It was just like we all know what just happened. They, well, one, the three of us, you know, you, Carrie, me, and Donna were there when Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and he was assassinated in Tyler Robinson's, the suspect's words, because he felt like just the words that Charlie Kirk said was making the world a place that was not safe for him and his boyfriend. That's what he said. And then the speaker that they chose for the commencement, the graduation, she, when she released her statement on his assassination, said, you know, she did say this shouldn't have happened, but
Mhm.
that doesn't change the fact that millions of people felt harmed by his words. And I when I emailed the president of the university, I said, this kind of thinking is what led to.
Yours is choppy.
Oh,
Um,
mine is.
yeah, like sometimes when you lean in, it makes a different sound.
Okay, how I'm gonna try it again, but
Okay.
just stop me if it's not coming through. But
Yeah.
I think people perpetuating this idea that words can harm people is what brings us to this area, or to this, kind of acceptance that some have, that people like Charlie Kirk should be stopped.
Right.
And that's what is creating this culture of fear, and actually, and very real danger, because we're allowing this idea that words can harm people. Words cannot harm people.
The
I
words
mean,
It's
I
themselves
ridiculous.
cannot, but a call to what they can represent, and I see that. But I think it's important that we condemn all political violence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I absolutely think I mean, that's one of the things that it does feel like we're in two different worlds. It really
Mhm.
does.
Mhm.
Because our world maybe is a little bit old school and we just think, I mean, I think all of us, I can speak for all of us when I say we're generally loving, compassionate people. I wouldn't want you on my team if you weren't those people.
Right. I wouldn't associate you with you guys if you weren't the type of people.
Right. But I wake up most days and somebody tells me how hateful I am, and I feel a need to keep going because I feel very much the whole, if I don't fight for what's right, if I don't fight for truth, and quite frankly, if I don't fight for my country,
Mhm.
we're going to lose it. Um,
Yeah.
the Supreme Court justice just talked about that. Like, even he's calling it out. I can't think of which one. Clarence Thomas. Um, Megan, I'm telling you to try your phone so that you can join us
Um,
if you
I
can't.
can hear now. It's much better. I don't know
Oh,
what
good.
changed, but
Oh, okay, good.
yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on any of this?
Well, we've kind of digressed so much further than what I was originally thinking.
Yeah,
Um, but just kind of back to your original question is, what is patriotism? And thinking about the larger topic of liberty, of patriotism being a part of liberty, I'm thinking of patriotism of loving our country, which I feel like this conversation is kind of saying also that we need to love our people.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but loving our country is part of being free. If,
Yeah.
like, we're seeing this right now, if we start hating our country, we're having this huge division of people, and so then we're losing our liberties because because of so many hating our country. We're not coming together.
yeah.
So
Well,
I think we need to learn how to love our country, which is partly the reason for Moms for America,
right.
to
Well,
learn the truth about it, right?
Yeah, I was going to just say that goes back to what Carrie said, is we need to stand for truth, because I think anyone who knows the truth about America, there's just no way you could hate it. There's no way you could not love America when you know its story and its principles. What are America's principles? Freedom and truth.
I feel like I
That
could play the
standing for
devil's
that.
advocate here and say there is a way that you could, if you come to this country as an immigrant and you're
Mhm.
immediately taught that it is bad and that you aren't going to be treated very well, and that's kind of
Yeah.
where you fall in, you may hate the country.
My
If you
question is, why would you come here? And then, what is your purpose for coming here? If you really think that that's the truth, and you are allowed to be here, I don't get how you would think that you're just gonna be treated horrible. You got let in the front door, the back door, whatever door.
Yeah.
I think there's more than one answer to that. I think there's the answer that you have fantasized that it'll be the American dream and you are going to be living like Beverly Hills. And then you get here and it's not that. And then I think there's also people who really do come with the right intention. But especially for young people, they may come in and immediately be taught, the same thing that our kids are being taught, which is one of my favorite words, oikophobia. And oikophobia is the fear or loathing of your homeland. And that's going up all the way across Western civilization. So the question then, I think one of the ways that we combat oikophobia is that we're honest about our country. Is our country perfect?
Nope.
No, of course not.
No. So I think it's important that we those little, I promise this makes sense, but those little dolls that, or you can get on AI and you can put your picture in and they come up with a doll. Someone put one on based solely on Moms for America, and it made me a mom in mom jeans. Striped sweater was correct, and but it made me white because it just had this assumption that if you are a patriot, you must be a white, slightly heavy woman in mom jeans.
Wait, because patriotism comes in red, white, and blue.
It does. And one of the things that I find is that a lot of, for minorities, a lot of minorities are not supposed to love this country. You're just supposed to inherently be born hating it. And so teaching people to love it is something I think we took for granted. We got it in songs, and our kids still have those, right? We have songs, and like I think it's the fourth graders do like they do a big old show, and it's like waving your flags and massive patriotism. But if behind the lessons are we're not that great, that can be a problem. Or if
Well, the thing is that the songs, um, they're not. I just feel like it's not taught anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like the love of country is not taught anymore. Am I wrong about that?
hang on, lost her for a
Did
moment.
we lose Megan?
There we go.
She's
There she
back.
is.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's gone again.
No, weird. Why? Hang on. So that's one of those places where I think we have to be like honest, because they are taught. I mean, I know that my fourth graders leave on one day a week and they go into a room. I think it's Fridays. They go into a room and they learn all sorts of patriotic songs. Utah, especially, is extremely patriotic on this surface level because I go around the state and play Harriet Tubman, right? And there's all of these stories that we tell people, but it does seem like it's a certain crowd only that goes to those. So
Well, I've been impressed with the Brent Taylor Foundation, and what they do with that gigantic flag is pretty darn amazing. So I don't know if you guys know the story with that, but it's pretty amazing.
no, tell us. I'm not familiar with this at all. This is the big one that they hang in the canyon.
So there, Brent Taylor, I believe, was at one point he was the mayor of North Ogden. Anyway, him and his wife, um, it's kind of a lengthy story. Long story short, he was in the military, got deployed, and he gave the ultimate sacrifice. And so they go all over the place and honor his memory by having many volunteers take out this gigantic flag.
Yeah.
And I know that his wife gives presentations on their story, and I think it was just this school year that our elementary school had his mother come and present her story also. So that's a really cool one to look up in Utah in particular, is the Brent Taylor Foundation.
That's great. There are charter schools that really focus, like they're neutral in education, but they focus on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Those are the biggest assemblies of the year. And the kids learn to say in Flanders Fields. And when I think about our flag, you know, I'm a sap. Can you all still hear? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm a sap. I mean, and I like this kind of old one, but that blood, so many people have died for us to take for granted what they did. And I find that, to me, that's patriotism. Patriotism is picking up where they left off. That's how I look at it. So I'm like, what can I do to save my country? And I'm sure you guys know it's down here at the end, but the end of the I think no, there's patriotism. Well, here's one that I think is so. Outside Independence Hall, when the Constitutional Convention of 1787 ended, Mrs. Powell of Philadelphia asked Benjamin Franklin, "Well, doctor, what have we got? A republic or a monarchy?" And with no hesitation whatsoever, Franklin responded, "A republic if you can keep it." So I think they knew from the very beginning that keeping it would not be an easy process. And I guess when I look at patriotism, when I think of patriotism, I think of patriotism as being willing to do whatever it takes to preserve what we have. And when I think of liberty, I think of, we had this in a lesson, but liber, that means that library comes from it, and it means that you get as much information as you possibly can so that you know and you have kind of a strong footing. Does that make sense?
I found it very interesting.
Say that last part again.
So liber, just from liber. So the word library comes from liber, right? And liber is to gather wisdom, to gather that information. I think it is important. It is important, in my opinion, that we defend our country. We have so many people today who truly have embraced nihilism and who have taught multiple generations to embrace nihilism and hopelessness and thinking, despising their homeland. And so I feel like the antidote to that is when we know with a surety, when I can say, yes, slavery was terrible. And do you know who Anthony Johnson was? And the reason that that's important is because when people have that little shock, wait, what? A black man started slavery in America? Started chattel slavery, which is permanent long-term slavery, not just 7 years. When you can start to say that, then they go, what else don't I know? And I think that's important, but I also think it's vitally important that you have those conversations with a heart to educate and not with a heart to shame. Lost another person. Okay.
Still here.
I know it's a process. Maybe. Okay.
I think Jean was trying to get back on.
I saw her for a second and now I don't see her again. So hopefully she'll be back.
Okay, there's Megan.
Later on. So
I don't know. Is it still windy, or I keep getting kicked out?
You know what? I bet you that's what it is, because everything was turned off when I came in from the from the wind and the blizzard. So I don't think this is
Yeah.
the regular way that it goes.
I think that's
So
a
I totally.
proverbial representation.
All right,
It's
go ahead.
patriotism is like that too. It sways like the flag, and it comes in and out, and it is ever moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, but I do think that it's so important, especially so when like 1619 Project comes out and all of these other things that are a very anti-American. I would say, oh goodness, who is the history author that so many people use, and like A People's History of the World. You know who I'm talking about, or somebody could look it up. But
Not
there's
Ibram
this,
X. Kendi.
not
Not that
Ibram
one.
X. Kendi, but he's a great example. But I'm thinking of the one from Good Will Hunting. but this idea that we must
Howard
find the
Zinn.
worst things in our history. You know,
She said Howard Zinn.
Howard Zinn. That's correct. Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Jean.
so this idea that we must find the worst things and we must hammer that home, that's not healthy for anyone. And I think we've come to a place where that's obviously not healthy. So I was saying that the antidote is for me the antidote is having as much knowledge as possible, not being afraid to hear something and to go, oh, that's different. Today when I was looking at Cleisthenes, it said that his brother-in-law overtook his society in one documentary that I was watching, and then another documentary said it was not his brother-in-law, it was a completely different stranger. And when I'm presenting it to the kids on purpose, I present it and I tell them that information because I don't want them to find it somewhere else. Right? That's the whole point of not being afraid of truth. But also I think we have to defend it. And I think a lot of people have believed that they can't defend it because that's controversial.
Yeah, I agree with you, Carrie. I think that slide that you just said, how we live patriotism, I think the cottage meetings and the courses that Moms for America provide on Town Square are so good to help us live patriotism, because we have to know, we have to know the truth in order to defend it. And also, I think learning, I don't know about you guys, but it definitely like fuels my passion. Like, it helps me love our country more when I learn about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have more, Megan? I was going to ask, what's your favorite story?
Just
That's okay.
oh man, I don't know, but I have really enjoyed the past year and a half just learning more about, just learning the stories. Actually, one of my favorite stories that Kimberly shares, I don't remember which lesson, it might be number 7 with the stories. But she tells a story about Thomas Jefferson, and he rides into town. He's all dirty because he had been helping somebody, I can't remember, but did not look like the president. And this innkeeper is kind of basically turned him away and said, we don't want you staying here. And so he ends up going somewhere else. Oh, I wish I could remember all of it. But later, this innkeeper finds out, oh, that was Thomas Jefferson. And he feels like, oh my gosh, oh, you're so special, and tries to treat him differently. And Jefferson's like, no, I'm going to stay with this other guy because he treated me nice, not even knowing who I was. And so you just learned a little bit more of a personal side to these people that have just been, you've kind of learned a little bit about your whole life. Um, but I feel when I'm spending my, I always have a certain amount of free time. I still have to have my fluff stuff,
Hmm.
but I really enjoy having a purpose to my study as well. And
Yeah.
sometimes when I'm doing the dishes, I'm going through all the cottage meetings right now. So I'll just have it in my ear while I'm doing the dishes, or I've done the Libraries of Hope, where she has like a long story audio book of Christopher Columbus. And I was like, I need to find more truth about Christopher Columbus because I keep hearing all these negative things
Yes.
and I want to know the truth. And so I've been, listening to that. So anyway,
No, I stories help us find the heroes, and they also show us
hmm
how to be the hero.
Yes. Can I give an
yeah.
Mhm.
example? So, like Megan said, I don't know if I heard this story in the cottage meetings or if I've just heard it in the past, year or so that I've been with Moms for America. But the story of the delegate from Rhode Island who, and I don't remember his name. I think it's Stephen something or Stephen something. But anyway, he had palsy, and when he went to sign the Declaration of Independence, he said, "My hand trembles. Oh, sorry, but my heart doesn't." And it's just giving me, it's just how I feel. Like my voice may shake. I might get nervous to, stand up, but my heart doesn't. It, it means that much to me. So it's that just little story of him is just giving me so much courage. It helps me remember that we should speak up for truth. We should search for truth and stand up for it, even if, you know, our body trembles or our voice trembles.
Yeah, when I
That's cool.
think of the people who signed the Constitution and that they gave their lives, their freedom, and their sacred honor, and then I think, and we're supposed to give up our voices. That's as inconvenient as it gets for us, and we're so conditioned to be comfortable and to not be quote unquote problematic. But I'm like, they literally did. There were people who came back and their homes were burnt to the ground.
Yeah.
There were people who lost their kids in the military, and we're we live in a time, I think, of cowardice. And it is really this is insanity. Um, we live in a time of cowardice, and I think that the stories, um, one of my favorite kind of organizations is Courage is a Habit. And I do think that that's cool. I was missing it, you guys. I was craving a cottage meeting because I was just like, I felt like I've been tossed this way and that way, and everything that's going on in the world is like a ping pong ball. And everything that you believed yesterday, someone else is coming in, I think. No, okay. Everything that you believed yesterday is different today unless you've got a strong foundation. And some of the other stories about patriotism and like the people who've loved their country have been people who've come here from other places. So I think about Alexis de Tocqueville, right? So Alexis de Tocqueville, you guys know about him?
The
He
name sounds familiar, but you have to remind me of the story.
Okay, so he comes from France, and he's like they're in the middle of the crazy, crazy revolutions. He's an aristocrat, and he's like, "Well, how come America's not falling to pieces like we are in this revolution?" What I mean, guillotines being pulled out, heads being chopped off. And he's like, "Why isn't it happening here?" Here she comes. My goodness. Oh, she's turned it off. Okay. So why isn't it happening here? And he goes around and he looks at all of these things. He looks at education and that's not the solution. He looks at the government and that's not the solution. And eventually he goes and he looks at the churches and he's like, it's their churches. And he's the one who said, if America ceases to be to something to love God, they will cease to be good. I think that's what it is. Again, if someone will look that up, that would be great. But um, those are the kind of stories that make me go, okay. And then you have to go, well, every institution we have is turning against our country. Every single institution, in one way or another, is turning against the country, including, quite frankly, our churches. James Tallarico, for many people, is he's considered the most Christian of all Christians when I don't think he could quote scripture that's not made up. So again, you have to know truth. You have to be rooted in your truth. I mean, in the truth. I don't want to say your truth. That's going to
Yeah.
get clipped.
Very, very good clarification there.
Yeah. and that's a hard thing because I have found things like on Webster's dictionary, and then I've gone back and looked at them again, like the definition of fascism, and it's changed.
Oh my gosh.
And you're like, what do you do with that? And that's part of our, digital world. And so that next question is, so we've done how do we live patriotism? How do we teach it?
I think those are one and the same. You have to live it to teach it. And yes, you can teach things out of books, but you also have to apply. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you lack application, then it's kind of empty.
Sorry, guys, I just got back on. Did you, can I
I
tell you
said,
the quote or did you find it?
no. What? Tell me the quote.
America is great because she is good. And if she is good, if she ceases to be good, she will not be great. So basically, America is good because America is so awesome because of the fact that we're virtuous, we're good. And if we stop being that thing, we won't be great.
And what
And
we're
who
dealing
said
with,
that again?
Alexis de Tocqueville.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. And here's the thing. The problem is that everything is a counterfeit. And I'm not trying to go down crazy train, but everything is a counterfeit. So when every institution is infiltrated, it's hard to hold on to what is truly good.
Well, I think it's because we've gotten away from, like, we've come to this place where we couldn't talk about religion, and now it's like the mention or the idea of it becomes like offensive and stuff, and that is what is going to be our downfall, or what is keeping us where we cease to be great, because we're not a moral, virtuous people, or we don't strive to be anymore. And that's what America was founded on,
Yeah.
is the idea that our rights come from God, and in God we trust, and God is mentioned, um, I don't even remember how many times in our founding documents, but because we've come to a place where we don't want to offend anyone, so we don't want to talk about God, we don't want to mention religion. People think separation of church and state means everything has to be neutral, when that's not, what it was meant for. So that's why everything is infiltrated or feels like it is, because there's people that are adamant about stopping any mention of faith, of God, of religion in any of our institutions.
Well, and I think we need to be super clear about that. They're adamant about stopping speaking of the Christian religion.
Right, but that's
Not
the
yeah.
religion, or that's the faith how do you say it?
Judeo-Christian.
Judeo-Christian. That's what our nation was founded on. And so they want to keep that absolutely out. And
Well, and there's a lot of people who would say that Judeo-Christian can't be correct. So that's one of those things where you just learn. And so I say Judeo-Christian all of the time because we believe in a monotheistic God.
mhm.
But the founding fathers, it's arguable. Some people will say they were all Christian. Some people will say they were their own versions of Christians. I mean, you definitely had people who were like Catholic and Methodist and I think Episcopalian back then. They had all sorts of things and they didn't agree on everything.
Well, I think that they were kind of like when you started this, you just said we're faith-based because
Yeah,
we're different faith, but
I
we
love
all
that.
have
Yeah,
this supreme, we know that our rights come from God. And I think that that's exactly how they were, right? They weren't necessarily the same religion, but they
no,
just connected under this belief that there was a supreme creator and our rights come from him.
right? Yeah. Um, and that's concerning as I mean, the thing that has always united us, and I honestly think that this is a reason why people have said don't stand for the flag. If you really get down to it, is the one nation under God. That's what people are most offended by. Which is sad because I always think and justice for all, you don't need any other flag. And justice for all. We are not perfect. We will never be perfect because we are fallible. But my goodness, what an amazing ideal to have.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, Megan, you have more thoughts?
Yes. I'm thinking about how we need to focus. The Constitution was written in a way that reflects the frailty of humankind. Right? They wrote it knowing that we would mess up. And so they put all these protections in and checks and balances because they knew that we were not perfect. But the ideal is always, you have to have an ideal, you have to have something to work toward, or else it means nothing.
Right.
So our Constitution is something that we need to work toward.
I've said this before, but I will say it again. I feel like the thing that makes America so great is that we've got these founding things of redemption. People come to this country hoping that they can start over. Sometimes people have come to this country literally, you can be in prison in this country, like, not now, but in the past, you could be sent here or you could be sent to Australia and you can make a better life for yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you had those people. The Irish were among those people oftentimes. So you'd have those groups. So you've got your redemption. You've got your resilience because that means that you will work hard. And this has changed in America, which I think is part of the reason why this hatefulness, because it comes with an entitlement that people didn't have before. They didn't have the nobody's backstage that I can see.
Oh, it says Donna says she is.
No, she's here, right
Nope,
there.
I'm back in.
Okay, good.
Oh,
So,
here.
okay, so you've
I
got
can't see any of you guys for some reason.
Oh.
I can only see myself.
Yeah, and I missed part of it because I don't know
Okay.
what happened, but I completely cut out.
Okay,
So-
all right. So what makes America so great is that you've got this story of redemption. So many people came to this country for a new start. You've got resilience because they were willing to work hard for it. They did not come with a sense of entitlement. It wasn't a thing that they cared about. Um, or it's not a thing they expected. Okay, so a ton of people, we were talking about that at the beginning, they'll come here and they think I'm going to go after the American dream, but then they're told when they get here, oh, we'll just give you stuff, and then you become enslaved in your new country, and you really do make your country like the country you fled. So that's grit. And that other thing is grace. I cannot think of a place where people who can be so extremely diverse, whether that's class, whether that's race, whether that's religion, can all come together and be a bunch of sisters. It doesn't usually happen. And maybe
Well,
because yeah, go
I
ahead.
just want to say what you just said, that phrase, the American dream. America is a beacon of hope. No other country, there is nowhere on earth where people say, I want to live the Russian dream. I want to live the Italian dream. America is the only country where people know what that means. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, yeah, e pluribus unum, out of many one. America is just the gold standard of everything. That's why everyone, so many people, millions, probably billions of people on earth want to come here.
yeah. Well, and I think that the teach has to do with the intent. Like living it can be personal. You could be a patriot and you could be a patriot and stay in your home, be a, what is it called when they live all by themselves?
A hermit?
A hermit. Yep.
Yeah, hermit.
So my brain. So yeah, you can be a hermit and you can still be a patriot. You can still love your country. The teaching is the intent, um that I would say, to pass it on to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think that
Especially these days, you've got the internet and everybody's an influencer these days. You could stay home and teach the world about patriotism and why the love of country and the love of your fellow countrymen, even the ones you don't agree with, because that is part of the American dream, is to live side by side with people you might disagree with.
yeah. So how do you think, you guys, that we carry that torch? Like, how do we carry the torch when we're in a place of such, I think it's important to acknowledge hostility.
Well, I can share a couple of things that I've felt good about doing. And also, we probably should wrap up. But so it is a little bit overwhelming. Like sometimes I feel like, oh, I've got to save the world, right? But I've just been able to find little places that I have control over, that I can make changes. So I start with my family. I'm learning myself, and then I'm teaching my family. I think that is one of the biggest and best things we can do. And then I'm taking some of the things I've learned, and I'm in my job. I have the opportunity to work with kids in an elementary school. And right now we're actually reading a story of pilgrims. And in the curriculum, it does say that the pilgrims came over. They were English, well, it says they called themselves pilgrims, but they were English separatists who did not want to follow King James I in the Church of England. And so they went to the Netherlands, weren't happy there, and then came over to America so that they could worship God as they please. And so I was really thrilled to see that in the curriculum. And I thought, okay, so here's a chance that we can have a conversation. And just in the little time that I had, we were able to talk about that. And so I feel like there's just a lot of little things that we can do if we look around in our little spheres. Start there, right? Especially because like courage is a habit. You start there, and as you learn more and you have more courage and you can share more, if you have other platforms where you can maybe reach more people, great. But sometimes just looking right around you is where you're going to find your most effective way.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
friends and neighbors, your
Mm-hmm.
coworkers, people you work with.
Right. And remember Jason Chaffetz at the Lincoln Day dinner? He
Hmm.
said, start talking to your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors. Love your
Yeah.
neighbors. Encourage your neighbors. Improve your neighborhood. Improve your community.
Yeah.
Well, I personally like what you said. I had a lady reach out to me on Facebook and she said, we've never met in person, but we've been Facebook friends for a while, and I just really appreciate that there's people who feel the same way about you. And, Carrie talks a lot about, making sure women know that they're not alone. And I think that I told this lady, I was like, the way we connect with each other is just we're all in our own part, in our own little corner of the battlefield, fighting the good fight. And, when we talk to each other, when we bond, when we do this, we know we're not alone. So even though we might physically be alone in our little corner, we're not alone in spirit. There are other women out there that are learning and teaching their families and talking to their neighbors. So we just have to keep going.
Yeah.
Donna, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I like the idea of remembering to be humble and listen twice as much as you speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we can learn a lot from one another.
All right, my friends, we are about to wrap up. Conventions are coming up. I just want to encourage you all to be informed. That's one thing that we really focus on is how to empower parents, and we believe that being informed is the way to do that. There are tons of places to watch interviews if you are a delegate. There's of course meet and greets going on. There were several debates tonight. So be an informed citizen. Don't just vote based on those 2-minute speeches or 3-minute speeches that will be at conventions. We also have an event coming up in Layton on May 13th. It's the Strength of Mothers. Our founder, Kimberly Fletcher, will be there. And then locally, we have an opportunity to get together and explain something that we're concerned about in schools, and that's social and emotional learning. And Netflix is coming to do a documentary there. So if you're interested in joining us for that meeting, please reach out. Ladies, I think that we covered everything
Did you
that
give
was
a date for that? Sorry.
um I don't have a date for it yet. So
For
I
the
believe they're
for the
coming in
documentary,
I was just wondering, did you have a date for that SEL thing?
yeah, I think that I think
the
it'll probably
29th.
be the 28th or the 29th of this month. So very shortly they're coming out. As soon as I know, I'll let you know, but I've just been talking to them right now, and that's just the first round of getting it out there. Um yeah, I think the way that we live it is by finding and lifting each other up. I really think that that's such an important thing, because when we have hope, or when we have no hope for a while, we can turn to other women and we can be lifted in a way that keeps us going. And I just want to finish with that. In the Star Spangled Banner, the way that it was written, sorry, coming back in, maybe. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I just want to finish here. The Star Spangled Banner, the way that it was written, and I'm going to try not to get a little teary-eyed here, but Francis Scott Key was on a ship. He was captured by the British. They said, we're going to destroy Fort Henry. He was, understandably very upset. I guess I don't have it. So, okay. He was very understandably very upset. He went downstairs and they said, what they told us is that the second that they drop their flag, the second that they give up and they drop their flag, that will be the moment that we'll stop shooting. That'll be the moment when we'll stop sending shells in there. And so what they did was, people are getting shot. They refused to drop that flag. They just started stacking the bodies up so that they were holding the flag up. So it never, ever fell. And when we think most people stumble through the first verse, but the fourth verse, I think it's the fourth verse, is then conquer we must when our cause it is just. And this be our motto, and God is our trust. And that is why these people want to remove God out of the conversation, or at least to water him down, to dilute him to something that's no longer offensive and no longer powerful. And I think that's really important. And for me,
And with that, God bless America.
God bless America. Yes. And we are done. We'll have some clips. If you enjoyed this and you're watching it in the replay, please like, share, reach out to us. We would love to have you join us. We need to grow. So absolutely. God bless America. And I'm grateful for all of you.